Hey, how's it going? Today I'm going to play Gardevoir Drifloon. Gardevoir is a deck that could be built for under $50 right now. And by the end of this video, I'm going to answer a few questions about it. Is it the best budget deck? What's the matchup spread look like for this deck? And should you be playing this deck? With that being said, we'll check out the deck list after this first game. So the Charizard player here chose to go first and attach the energy to their active and pass. I am just prize checking here, making sure that I have like what tool cards I have, what attackers I have, because you do need to attack with 2 Drifloons with at least 100 or at least 11 damage counters on them to knock out 2 Charizards. And I do get a decent start. I have Buddy Poffin and TM Evo. I decide not to Iono because I have another energy in my hand. I can refinement that away. And I don't need any more cards this turn. And based on what they did last turn, their hand might not be great. So if I don't need to draw the cards, I might as well just, keep my hand. And that does cause them to Ultra Ball and not play their own Iono. Maybe they're just playing it safe by getting the Arven, but maybe they thought my hand was kind of dead. But I do have an Iono and my energy in it, which I'm happy to hold on to, because that can be one of the challenges against a high HP deck like this, is getting all the energy in play, or in the discard. And they do have a TM Evo of their own, which is quite interesting. I don't know how they're like Charizard players are fitting all these extra evolutions in their deck. This deck's already pretty tight on space as is, but to add a Pidgeotto is kind of rough. So we have a nice little advantage here. We are able to knock out their Charmeleon, and I trade away the Arven first because I have 2 of them in my hand, and I got to get rid of something. One of the hardest parts about this deck, like in the new format, has been what to trade away and what to get rid of with Ultra Balls. Now here I can Arven, I can grab the TM Evo as part of my fodder, and I'm just debating like Nest Ball or Ultra Ball first. It really doesn't matter. I don't have the Scream Tail in my deck, which I would have liked to have grabbed ideally to attack with, but I can attack with Flutter Mane. I don't know, this is kind of like a cheesy strategy. I'm hoping it messes them up, because they're going to promote Pidgeot to, as a free retreater, then they'll have to retreat it into something to use it. And I Ultra Ball away the Evo and the counter catcher there, as those are really the only things I can afford to get rid of in this hand. And just put the 3 energy on my guy and attack. I can put 2 damage counters on the Pidgeotto because Pidgeot's the only thing that I can't easily one-shot in play right now, so I might as well get the extra damage down on that. There's like no real good math here or anything like that. And they just barrel for 1 after attaching. I would assume that they have something in their hand because they got rid of an Iono last turn, but they bring up my Kirlia. This is really unfortunate. And they're probably just going to hit into it for 20. This kind of sucks because I don't have a way to move my Kirlia right now. And I really don't want to like go down a turn, because then that just puts us back on an even playing field. If I played the second Vessel, I could just Arven for it, and I'm kind of wishing I did right now. I would love to, I just can't find space for it. It's either 9 energy and 1 Vessel or 8 energy and 2 Vessel, and I went with the extra energy because in theory it should make it easier for you to draw the energy, which is one of the main things you want to do with this deck. And I'm forced to just pass this turn. That's terribly unfortunate. But the reason I traded before the Iono there is because Turo is another out to get out of the active. I could have just Turo'd up my Kirlia, which is like one of the things I probably would have preferred to do that. You really like to have Turo for the end of the game, but it would be nice to have been able to Turo this Kirlia up and evolve my other Ralts and trade again. But I didn't get to do that. And now they get to do whatever they want, basically. They evolved a Pidgeot, they can attach to it and knock out my only Kirlia in play. This is really unfortunate, and I'm going to have a hard time knocking them out back, which sucks. So now a matchup that has that started in my advantage originally has flipped to be at least even, if not advantage for them, just because I'm down my main draw Pokemon. Which is just Very unfortunate. You definitely hate to see that. So they're just searching for a card out of their deck right now, probably for next turn. They should have done that before playing the Poffin and stuff, just so I don't know that they're grabbing a card for next turn, but there's probably not anything I can do about it anyway, so whatever. I promote the Flutter Mane, because if I'm not going to attack with it, I at least want to start retreating the energy off of it. That was one of the downfalls of attaching 3 energy to Flutter Mane, and that's the reason I think it could be a mistake. If I had just attacked with a Drifloon, I'd have well, they would have knocked it out, but I'd have access to all my energy and maybe could have knocked them out this turn. But as you see, when I draw off the research, I'm not going to be able to ever knock them out this turn. I could have done 240, which would have just been a little bit short. And I have to Ultra Ball for a Kirlia, because if I don't and they knock out my Gardevoir, it's basically game over. So now I just have to hit into them for 90 again. I really can't trade anything out of this hand. I need every single card in this hand to win the game, because what I Ultra Balled away, I have to recover 2 Drifloons in case they knock this one out, and I'm going to need 2 more to win the game. I don't know, it's just kind of a rough spot to be in. So now they just have free reign to do whatever they want, and I was not able to get rid of either of their consistency Pokemon, which I would have loved to have been able to knock out. If I knocked out the Pidgeot this turn, it just would have put me in a fine spot, like board state wise. So that's going to be one of my goals, is going to be to knock out this Pidgeot as soon as possible. And they are probably going to have boss because they haven't used their Pidgeot, so they're going to quick search for boss. This Charizard deck is so annoying. Once they get set up, it's just like a boss simulator. I don't know. It's unfortunate, because I think Pidgeot EX is like a really cool card. It's just this Charizard deck makes it so annoying. I don't know what they were thinking with printing all this combination of cards, but I don't really think they think very much at all when they're printing cards. So now I'm in a counter catcher after super odding, because I have no Guardies in the deck, and I'm debating if I should bring up their Lumineon, what I should bring up, because if I bring up their Charmander, I can knock that out guaranteed. But in order to win this game, I need to knock out this Pidgeot this turn. If I don't, I'm going to lose. There's just no way around it. And I Iono into the energy, luckily, which is one of the pieces I needed, because 3 energy is the least amount that I can use to knock out this Pidgeot. And I refinement the second one away, a vacuum, because that's the least useful card in my hand right now, because I don't know. It's rough. All the cards in this deck are so useful at almost all the time. It's very rarely like you're getting rid of extra cards that you don't need, like it used to be. Which makes it, I don't know, it's like easier and harder to play at the same time, because the refinement decisions are a million times harder, but just throwing energy on a Drifloon and attacking is a lot easier than having to like stay behind a prize to use reversal energies and so on. So they promote their Charizard EX, of course, and I get a Kirlia out of the prizes, and having energy in my hand is nice. That's one step closer to knocking out this Charizard. I already have the Hero's Cape in my hand, so I can just Poffin for Actually, no, I need to get Super Odd first, because my Drifloon's in the discard pile, which is quite unfortunate. But I will be able to recover both my Drifloons, and that should be all I need to win the game. So like even in this hand now, all I can get rid of is the Gardevoir line, which still feels bad, because I would like to have more Guardies in play, but putting that Flutter Mane in play kind of messed it up for me a little bit. I probably shouldn't have done that. You always need the Mimikyu in play in this matchup, because when you're putting more damage on Drifloon to get the attack off than it has HP, you need Mimikyu to promote off of a Lost Vacuum knockout. But I do draw the damage pump off of one of those trades, which is like super clutch, because now I can knock out this Charizard without having to get 6 energy on the Drifloon. And I recover the EX there and the 2 Drifloons, because those are the cards that I need to win the game. Well, I didn't need to recover the EX. They have 2 prizes left. That was kind of a mistake, because if they knock out my EX, I lose anyways, so probably shouldn't have done that. Now I can retreat. I damage counter 1 over to the Drifloon, so I can get exactly 110 damage onto it. and perfectly knock out this Charizard, which is nice. It sucks that I couldn't Iono them this turn though, because they have pretty good odds to hit boss, but I already had the cards that I needed in my hand. So I had to play the Arven to get the Super Rod, because I already had the Charm and the Poffin to find it. So it's less likely that I would find Super Rod plus all those cards off the other end of an Iono. So we draw 1 energy off the Iono. That's pretty nice, but we're just, at this point, we're just hoping they don't hit Counter Catcher. I wonder if they probably, I don't know, that's close, if they should have evolved before or after Bibarel. I guess they thin cards out of their deck. I don't know. I'm sure there's like technical math on that, if they're more likely to hit the Counter Catcher with just drawing 3 off of Bibarel before, but them Ionoing into Candy Charizard is insanely lucky, so I'm just hoping they don't get lucky and hit the Counter Catcher, and they don't. So now I have really good odds to hit boss because it wasn't in my previous hand, so I should just hit it off of this or the next Kirlia trade, and I do, so I can just retreat into Mimikyu, throw 2 energy on it, and knock out this Pidgey. That was a really close game. The Charizard matchup is much closer than it ever was before, which is unfortunate because this deck would be way better if it had as favored of a Charizard matchup as it used to. So I chose to go with a deck list more focused on getting the Drifloon attack off with the 2 Drifloon, the 2 Bravery Charms, and the Damage Pump. And the idea with the Damage Pump is in the Charizard matchup specifically, you can move 2 damage counters off of one of your Pokemon, 1 to each of 2 Drifloon, to make it so that you can get 2 different Drifloon to 110 damage on them so they can knock out a Charizard with just a Bravery Charm. But other than that, I have the Mimikyu, which is very good for like Arceus decks, and you need it for the Charizard matchup. You need to have it on your bench so that if they vacuum and knock out a Drifloon, you can promote that so they can't just easily take 2 prizes. The Flutter Mane's good for Lost Box, of course, shut off all their comfies and stuff. It's also good against Baxcalibur or Chien-Pao, because you can set up a play where if they don't have another Frigibax in play, you can Counter Catcher up their Baxcalibur, and with the Flutter Mane in the active, they're not able to attach energy to retreat it, or they can't attach the 2 to retreat it. And I went with the Turo Pal Pad because Azul just won that regional with Snorlax, so it kind of sucks. I don't want to have to play the Pal Pad, but I think you kind of need it just to recover Turo and Boss to have a chance to get out of your active spot. We have the 2 Bravery Charm, the Luxurious Cape, and the Hero's Cape. You kind of need all those to be able to knock out your opponent's like high HP Pokemon. 2 Bravery Charms should be enough in most matchups, but for like Charizard and stuff, you need the Hero's Cape and the option of the Luxurious Cape. And I went with the Vacuum instead of a Stadium to have a chance against future hands so that you can get rid of their Tool, their Heavy Baton, and hopefully they can't get an attacker together the next turn. That's the list. Let's get on to the next game. So my opponent opted to go first, and it's their second turn. I missed the energy for the TM Evo, and they just got down a Frigi and a Greninja, and now it looks like they're getting going a little more. This is one of the downfalls of the 70 HP Frigis, is that he can't retreat into a Chien-Pao to start like getting the energy out of his deck and moving through his deck. I can evolve here to Kirlia, and all that I can really afford to get rid of here I think is the Counter Catcher, which is unfortunate. I do get the Vessel, which is kind of nice, so I can TM Evo this turn. I can get down maybe another Ralt and a Drifloon and just evolve my guys. And this matchup can definitely be kind of hard. Like if they get the Prime Catcher canceling Cologne playoff, it's pretty rough. And Iron Hands can definitely be a real problem. And choosing what to Vessel away here is kind of a problem. It's a really hard decision. I can get rid of Arven or my Gardy EX or my TM Evo, but I really want to TM Evo this turn. I don't know, it's a pain. There's just it felt like before you had so many cards that you wanted to get rid of, or it felt fine getting rid of extra cards, but now like every single trade is a struggle. And I don't evolve to an EX because I have it in my hand and I want to draw more cards next turn. If I evolve, I can't do that. But here, it looks like they're just going to be able to start attacking with Iron Hands. Well, they only have 1 energy in the discard, so we're really hoping that they don't do that, because that would set us behind pretty bad. And if they don't do that, next turn I can just start attacking with Mimikyu, which would be very nice. It's definitely like one of the stronger things against Iron Hands. Decks like this, just having it in play is always a nice option because this deck plays Iron Bundle usually, or sometimes. I don't know if they usually play it, but they do sometimes. And then Charizard, where they can vacuum and force you to promote another Pokemon. So Mimikyu is like one of the more important pieces in this deck, I believe. Alright, they get their Ciphers. Is that last card in their hand an energy? Yes, it is. They choose to get Pokestop off of it. They miss it, so that's good to see, I guess. It's good for us. And I can start trading away energies. I have the Turo, so if I want, I can just pick up a Pokemon. I don't think I want to do that. I could trade that away, or the Nest Ball, or the Drifloon. You can kind of get rid of Drifloons, especially in this matchup, because you can always recover them. And Screamtail is very good in this matchup. Like, you have a bunch of attacking options. I can take my first prize here with Mimikyu, which is nice. It'll hopefully... Ideally, it would force them to attack with their Baxcalibur, which is what I would really like to see. So I just knocked that out. I don't play the Pokestop. There's not too many items that I would really like to hit. And there's a lot of cards that I could mill that I would want. They promote the Chien-Pao, probably just to get energy flowing. It's usually not the best sign. We're really hoping not to see like Counter Catcher or anything. But they Vessel, and with how much like Tutor there is in this deck, I wouldn't be surprised if they had the Prime Catcher or just a way to get it with Irida or Cypher Maniac. And then they could amp my Kirlia, which would suck. Then I'd be down to one Kirlia. And that's one thing I noticed with this deck now. You're kind of playing catch up a lot of the time of like just trying your best to keep Kirlias in play. I don't know. There's like definitely players that I consider to be some of the best players that are playing this right now. Like Fabian is still playing Gardy, so it's probably better than it seems sometimes. But some game, like certain games, it just feels like you're always on the back foot even more than you were before. It was always kind of a come from behind deck, but now it feels like a struggle fest sometimes to get caught back up. And they bring up my Drifloon. I don't necessarily know that that was correct. I think a Kirlia would have been the better answer, but I guess they don't want to get knocked out. But maybe that makes sense because they did see me get rid of my other Drifloon, but they should know that usually when that happens, I should be able to find a way to get another one back. And I do get the Super Rod. I have the Bravery Charm. The only question is, do I have enough energy to knock it out? They have most of their energy down. So it would be nice to knock out their Bibarel at some point. But I'm able to Super Rod back 2 Drifloons. I have 3 energy in the discard, which means I can get exactly 4 on this Drifloon to knock out this this Iron Hands this turn, because at 4 energy is 240 damage, which is just perfect math. And I can get down the first Iron Hands, and we just kind of hope that they can't recover another one and that they're forced to knock me out with Chien-Pao or just any other Pokemon that's not Iron Hands, really. I would really have loved to been able to like Counter Catcher their backs and knock out their Bibarel, but when they have an Iron Hand set up, it's so hard to do those Screamtail plays, and they immediately play the Super Rod. That's not a very good sign for the situation that we're in right now. They just immediately can recover it. They can Irida for Nest Ball or whatever piece they're missing, because they more than likely just have some of the cards they need in their hand. But they do need 6 energy this turn, which I guess is better than needing 4. They immediately put 2 on the active, of course. Yeah, it's just not looking good at this point. I have to really think of what I can do next turn, and I need to hit an Iono. Like, because I can Counter Catcher up their Baxcalibur and Screamtail the Bibarel, or I could even Screamtail the Iron Hands off of the bench. I do have the Hero's Cape in hand. I don't know. First of all, I need to hit an Iono to probably have any chance at winning this game. And we hit double Iono. I can Screamtail, throw the cape down, and Iono them. Or Counter Catcher, of course. bring up just something with a bigger retreat. We don't bring up the Chimpao because they might be able to like super odd get the energy out of their deck and automatically retreat. And I can just trade away that energy there because I want to get in the discard anyway. And now's the question of what do I knock out? I think I make the wrong choice here. I choose to knock out the Iron Hands. I think I should have just knocked out the Bibarel. That is always the correct choice, I'm pretty sure. Because of with the Hero's Cape on, I have 130 HP, so they can't knock me out with Amp You very much to win the game. And it doesn't give them access to Counter Catcher, so I should knock out the Bibarel, but for some reason I was like, I don't know what I was worried about here, like Silene Pokestop, and I decided to knock out the Iron Hands. I don't know, that is a mistake, because as you're gonna see on their turn, I probably should lose this game, almost definitely. Just based off of the cards that they get. They're able to Ultra Ball. For some reason, they grab a Pokemon with that. That seems like a mistake. So they're able to draw 5. And like you can see, they would have had a completely dead hand if I just knocked out their Bibarel. Wow, I don't know why I couldn't think of the name there. Yeah, so now they get double Superior and Ultra Ball, and I'm thinking about conceding, but always let your opponent play out their hand, make sure they can sequence it right, make sure they see the play, because based on like what they do next, they definitely have a way to recover the, they get the Super Rod, they can recover the Iron Hands and win the game, because they have Ultra Ball and double Superior in hand. There's no way they don't have enough cards to win the game. So this is where a lot of people would concede, but I always make my opponent have it, and they mess up the whole play, because now, even if they could super out again, now that they bundled, I can send up the Mimikyu. They can't knock out Mimikyu with Iron Hands, and there's nothing they can do. I have 1 prize left, and we just win the game. So that's definitely a game that I should have lost, but, you know, make your opponent do the plays. Don't tell them what to do when you're in a tournament and like stuff like that. If you're playing a testing game, of course, like tell your friends what they should do and stuff, but always make your opponent have it. I've won more games than I probably should have by just my opponent not seeing the play to win the game. This is Fabian Pujols' list on screen now. The main difference here is the Klefki. That's just for more ability lock, but mainly for future hands. It's so that they can't take 2 prizes accelerating with Miraidon right away to like put them way ahead in the prize trade. Hopefully they only take 1 prize before we start attacking. Then we're able to get the first 2 prize knockout, hopefully. Now here's the matchup spread. Gardy is not super favored against any decks. It's like a 50-50 deck. You're kind of hoping to outplay your opponent. One of the few favored matchups you have is Lugia, which is nice. And it also says Lost Zone is like 60-40 on here. I've heard a lot of people say that it's favored for Gardy. I guess the idea is you are attacking with Flutter Mane a lot, which really can like put a stop to Lost Zone if you get in the active early enough. But we're also like extremely favored against Great Tusk Mill, which is nice. So if you want to rely on just your skill and not going into a tournament with any super favored matchups, or if you're going into a tournament with a lot of Dialga tanks, it looks like that matchup's favored, maybe you should play Gardy. But if you've never played a lot of Gardy so far, I wouldn't bother picking it up right now. It is kind of a hard deck to play. It doesn't like have a super great matchup spread. You're not like gonna metagame with it. You're just hoping to outskill your opponent. And I think it also probably gets a lot worse once Dragapult comes out, because if that card is as good as it seems like it is, this deck is going to really struggle against a deck like that. But for now, if you haven't already played a bunch of Gardy, then I would say don't pick it up. You know, the people that have already been playing Gardy don't need me to tell them to play Gardy. But as far as budget decks go, I would say either Ancient Box or Espathra is going to be a better option. Or even Lugia is not too expensive of a deck.